if you want to install WordPress the hard way, and that is manually yourself, let me show you how easy it really is. Okay, so first step I'm going to do is I'm going to go to WordPress.org and I'm going to click on that Get WordPress button. Now, this will sometimes change depending upon what the style of the website is. When I click there, you'll notice Get WordPress. They estimate that it's running about 39% of all websites on the internet. That's quite significant if you think about it. It's also free. Free download. You don't have to create an account to download or anything like that. You just click on the download WordPress. And the current version is 5.6. In fact, 5.6 just came out a couple of days ago. They're very good about updating it, keeping it all up to date as far as security patches and stuff like that. Now, I've already downloaded it. If I come here, if I come to my downloads file, I can open up my WordPress file here. See, I got several subfolders and files in it. I'm going to just select these real quick. And then I've set up a web server on my machine. And my machine is nothing fancy. In fact, my machine's several years old. You don't have to have a fancy machine to run a web server, especially not for just developmental purposes. I'm going to go to a search engine and search for WAMP, W-A-M-P. WAMP is an acronym that stands for Windows, Apache, MySQL, PHP. And so if you're on Windows, you want to run WAMP. And it gives you MySQL, PHP, and a Apache web server all as one download package. You can click here on WAMP server and click start using WAMP server, and it will let you know how to go through that process. You download it. It's got a simple install. MySQL, PHP, and Apache are all free for you to use. You don't have to, once again, have even an account to log in and do it. If you are on a Mac, you might find that you already have it installed, depending upon your Mac installation, but they have MAMP, the Macintosh Apache, MySQL, and PHP. And you go to mamp.info, and you can download this. Now, they even have a version, it knows that I'm on Windows, it even has a version you can go and test for that if you want. Okay, it's got a couple other things that you can do a little bit more. Finally, there's also LAMP, which is the Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. You can use that as well. I've got my WordPress files here. I've selected them. I'm going to extract them. Where am I going to extract them to? Well, let me show you real quick. When you set up WAMP in my example, I'm going to go to C WAMP www. And here's all my little subfolders I use as a little, testing environment. I'm going to create a new one. WordPress demo. And I'm going to copy the files over. Now, there's a lot of little files. In fact, almost 2,500 right now, you can see. But it's only going to take it a minute to do. While those files are being extracted, I'm going to go to my localhost server real quick. And when you have WAMP server, this is what you're going to kind of see. It's not that real exciting or anything. It's just lets you know what type of extensions you have installed and what your projects are that you're working on, things like that. Under aliases, I'm going to go to PHP MyAdmin. These are different databases. I need to create a new database for MySQL. So I'm going to come over here, choose a name. This is going to be WP example, create, done. That's all you have to do if you're using something like this. Now, if you're on a host that you have to be able to design and set this up yourself, they may have a different way to create it. You will also, by default, want to have a special username and password. But since this is just a really simple internal test, you can't get to this box outside of the network. It's not a big deal. I'm using just a default password. All right. In the few seconds it took to do that, all my files did finish copying. And so there is a README file here that you can open up if you want. It goes in, tells you how to do this, and it's very, very simple. What we're going to do is we're going to come here and open up the WP config sample file. There's a couple little things that we need to do in this. First off, we're going to do a save as. And we're going to just make this WP config. Okay, it still has a .php extension. WordPress uses PHP. It has to have that. All right. Going to come here and database name. Now that's the one that I just created. If you remember correctly, we created it called WP example. So I'm going to come here right after where it says DB_name. I'm going to put WP example. I'm going to make sure I have those single quotes. It's a string. Those have to be there. My password is the default root, and my password is a default blank. Once again, that's just because this is a development software. It's only used internally. You can't see it from anywhere else, so we're going to let that be. Okay. Scroll down just a little bit further. You'll notice that it has some unique phrases here. You might go, well, what is this? Well, this is what they call a salt. A salt is just a way that you're going to configure your server. This is no big deal. I'm just going to take this link, open up a new tab. Notice it gives me everything I need. And notice this is just completely random. In fact, if I reload this a couple, 3 times, you notice it gives me consistently different values. So I'm going to copy all those, and I'm going to replace down there. What the salt does is it helps to just protect and encrypt your system. Once again, probably not a big deal on my internal site, but because I just want to show you how to do it and how easy it is to just copy and paste and replace those little pieces, I just showed you. It's really, really simple. Okay. Your WordPress database table prefix. Now, by default, it's WP_. In fact, that works 99.9% of the time. So we're just going to leave that as is. Now, if you're going to be using this as a development tool, we're going to be developing, you might make mistakes, and we're going to do that later on. I would change this WP_debug to true. That's all you got to do. That is literally everything. Okay. So what do I have to do from here? Well, I'm going to go localhost, and then I'm going to go say / and then I'm going to put in the name of the folder that I put this in. WordPress demo. And one of the things it's going to do is it's going to let you know if you need to update your version of WordPress. Now, if you do, as I do in this case, as I'm running an older version of PHP, it's going to tell me what I need to install at least. Now PHP had been on the 5.5 for a while. They skipped version 6. They went straight to 7. In fact, version 8 is scheduled to be coming out pretty soon. So this is an install that you probably want to do. We're going to have to come back after I do this install and update this so that this will run. So this is one of the big things that came out in just the previous version of 5.5 of WordPress was making you do an upgrade. The good news is it gives you a lot of performance enhancements. If you have a web host that has got you way back on old versions of PHP, you definitely want to look at getting them to update you, or maybe finding a new host because it's very out of date. So let me go ahead and pause. Let me go ahead and update my PHP, and that way I'll be able to run this. With PHP now updated and installed correctly, go to that directory and you're going to get an install file. It's going to look something like this. Now, all you have to do is go there and it's going to redirect you to this install file. First thing it's going to ask is what's your default language. Then it's going to ask you some really basic information. For example, your site title, username, etc. Just going to fill this information in. Notice that it gives you a default password. You can, of course, change this as much as you want. Put in an email address, and I'm going to currently say discourage this from being found by search engines only because this is an internal thing. Now, if it's internal, it really doesn't matter. If you're just doing development work and testing something, you're on a public server, you may want to check this. Typically, you're going to want to let it be seen. And then I'm going to click the Install WordPress button. And that's it. That's all you have to do. Now WordPress is installed. Doesn't take long at all. You notice it just took, maybe 20, 30 seconds? Extremely simple to do. Just create your database, download the files, and unzip them to a local directory. Go to that directory for the first time, and then when you click the login, I usually like to click Remember Me, and click Login, and you are now logged into your WordPress site. So very, very simple to do.